Welcome back to the Sam JW channel. This could be a very long week. Full time at Grenoble Road, Oxford United 2, Middlesbrough 6. Let's get this one out of the way, shall we? So yes, Oxford United lose 6-2 to Middlesbrough at Grenoble Road. We'll go through it. We've said before there are some just far better sides in this division than we are, but there is a couple of things that need to be said in terms of our performance. Look, obviously the momentum chart is ridiculous. It started kind of okay. Of course, Greg Leigh's goal coming in the 25th minute. There was a lot of shots that Middlesbrough were having, a lot of pressure being applied. They just weren't really finishing their opportunities. Same can be said for us a little bit after a certain goal. And yeah, first off, obviously, completely walked. We know what one of these is, and again, we'll touch that in a second. I thought maybe it was going to be one of those, get battered for 90 minutes, snatch a couple of points, but obviously it wasn't that. It's a really good corner kick that's delivered in. I'm not sure who the who the corner kick taker was, I should say, because Cam Brannigan was on the edge of the area. It must have been Will Volks, but evidently his delivery is getting a lot better from set pieces in 2 weeks compared to what they were at Watford. And then yeah, scramble in the area, and then Greg Leigh poked home. Then of course, oh god, which one's going to be? It's probably going to be this one, isn't it? I'll say last penalty. No, I know there are going to be some Middlesbrough fans saying, "Oh, sour grapes and sore lose, etc., etc., etc." As I said, you're a better side than we are. Should have taken the lead before Greg Leigh scores, but I'm not sure this is a penalty, because if you watch the replay, I don't know who the middle player is, he's darting down the right hand side, and he takes a shot, and the ball is travelling into the side netting by the time that Elliot Moore makes the challenge. It's one of the, it's the kind of penalty you see given on FIFA all the time, even when the shot's been taken, and then 4 steps after, then the defender comes across and makes the challenge. It reminded me a lot of that. I don't think it's a pen. At the same time, there's got to be some better communication between Elliot and Kieran. Elliot was caught very, very high up the pitch. And a couple of times, as we'll see later on, leading to our defence getting stretched quite significantly, and more opportunities being created for Middlesbrough. But yeah, like I say, last puts the ball up in the back of the net. Then this one from Finazaz, it's Hida Turvest is caught out on the right hand side, ball fizzed in. Just inside the area, and he fires home. One of the Oxford fans reacts by throwing, I think, a water bottle at him or something like that. Look, we don't condone any of that. Don't condone any of throwing objects at players. It's it's just an easy way to get yourself a ban order, isn't it? It's just a stupid thing to do. At the same time, Maybe opposition players will stop running the entire lot of them towards the east stand in future. Last second goal. So in the moment, we all looked at it and went, "That's offside. He's significantly offside." Watching the replay back, Sam Long doesn't step up in the defensive line. It's tricky because the angle that are on all the replays, it looks like kind of they're about level. About level. Obviously, it's difficult because the only other camera angle we've got is the one on the TV camera, which makes Latte look much more offside than he actually is. I think he's maybe a like a shoulder, like literally like that much offside. I think it's difficult to pinpoint the exact moment on when you're looking at the highlights and try to analyse it, if he's offside or not. It's a very, very tight call, though what I will say is that in my opinion, like I say, quite dubious penalty, and the overall performance from the officials kind of was really compounded. And I'm not one that likes to blame officials, that, but I will say that I don't think the lino on the near side or the referee had a particularly good game. A lot of inconsistencies. Me, I like to kind of, if a decision goes for Oxford and then or doesn't go for Middlesbrough when they're the exact same thing, then I will call it out. There's a couple of those instances where the same challenge just isn't punished, and it's a quite weird inconsistency in Championship officials that I don't know why. We could have a million conversations about the improvements that need to happen with English officials up and down the English football pyramid. Look, like I said, they impact the game, but not as much as a poor performance in your team. First half, again, if we look at this table or this momentum chart, lots of peaks for Middlesbrough. Like I say, they could have had 2 goals by the time that Greg Leigh scores. I'm not delusional in the fact that I'm not delusional enough to say we deserve to win. We're winning 1-0 from Greg Leigh, because we didn't. They wasted their opportunities in that first kind of 20 minutes. But like I say, I think a little bit of poor officials, a little bit of us getting quite stretched, and again, when that will come more into it in the second half, getting quite stretched by the Middlesbrough midfield particularly. So a couple of changes were made at half time, or just after half time, I should say. Dane Scarlett, Shemi Poeta coming on. Poeta, of course, making his first appearance since the Blackburn game. He came on off the bench, and then as you can see, we have Matt Phillips returning, Josh McEachran and Idris El Mazouni also coming on. Again, we'll come into the performance in a little bit of each player. But going into it, I thought that was a pretty decent side, to match it, and obviously by the second half, it got worse and worse. If we find their second goal, I think it's this one from Latte Lath. Just making sure, because a lot of them came in quite quickly. I've got a feeling, and again, annoyingly, they don't put this in the highlights, the kind of build of play immediately before. It's literally all they've put in is the ball forward to Latte Lath and then the finish. I think there's a dubious foul in the midfield on the halfway line on Ruben Rodriguez. Like I say, I think that's another one that kind of Middlesbrough players were getting awarded and Oxford players weren't. At the same time, yet again, Elliot Moore caught far too high, and the pace of Latte Lath just completely beat him. It was interesting because after that goal goes in, there is a bit of an uptake in kind of the pressure we were applying and trying to get back in this game. As soon as we get it, as you can see, obviously from the kickoff, a decent high chance there, a little bit of pressure back on from Middlesbrough, 10 minutes after the restart, and then again a bit more pressure. It did feel like for the first 20 minutes of that second half, we were playing a lot better. We were looking to get back in the game. Shemi Poeta looked quite useful, battling. That seems to be something he's really improved on, because I was thinking he was against Norwich, against Coventry, and against Blackburn. He was lacking a little bit of that defensive work rate, but I thought he was a lot better when he came off the bench. We created a few opportunities to kind of get level. But of course, we'll talk about the goal that goes in a minute. again, high peaks from Middlesbrough straight after that. Again, applying the pressure, trying to find that fifth, which they would eventually get. But before that, Dane Scarlett, as we said, would come off the bench and score yet another goal. This lad just seems to have an enormous amount of confidence since getting his first goal for the England youth sides. He got another one during the international break. And yeah, it's all power to him, and hopefully, it means he can start against Sheffield United. He should definitely start in that game. I also think he should start against Millwall, because Mark Harris, he misses that chance just after Latte last penalty. Takes it round the Middlesbrough keeper and just can't keep it in his feet to put in the back of the net. Harris has had shot of confidence at the minute. And yeah, he needs a sustained period out the side, I think. And Dane Scarlett's record at Oxford so far is, I think, 4 goals. He's got so far, which considering he only really started playing in kind of October, really, or just after that first, they've been from the second international break to the October one. That's a pretty decent record for this lad. His work rate, he's looking a lot better. He's looking a lot more physical in the role. At the minute, he has to start, and he is the man that Des Buckingham should be calling upon. Really good work for this goal. Nice play as he kind of turns and then strikes it past the keeper, low and hard. We were hoping maybe kind of that was when we were going to kick on and get back in this game. I was having images of talking about a memorable 4-4 draw with Middlesbrough, but no, they kind of shot that not far after Dane Scarlett's goal. Tommy Conway goes up the other end and just drives it right into the bottom corner. Again, we're getting stretched in the midfield area. Defensively, we're getting stretched in that 5 at the back. Sam Long and Elliot Moore don't cover themselves in glory, and I think maybe Jamie Cummings should do better with that one. Similar story with Azaz's second goal. I think maybe Jamie should do a little bit better with the height it is, but again, far too easy for them to get through in the midfield area, pass it on to their man in these kind of areas of the pitch and fire home. And yeah, it's a result that was coming. Like we said, there was a couple of games this season where it could have resulted in a scoreline like this. It's obviously had a severe impact on our goal difference. We're still somehow outside of the relegation zone, but our goal difference is now at -5. Obviously, much better goal difference than everyone apart from Hull, who are on the same goal difference as us. Even if you look at some of the other sides up towards kind of the mid-table area, we've got better goal difference than Sheffield Wednesday, better goal difference than Luton. But that win for Luton has pushed them up into 16 to clear of the relegation zone for now. We're still 2 points outside of that drop zone. Obviously, Portsmouth didn't play this weekend, but if they were to win, they would be on 15 points as well. But yeah, we said it last time, it's getting quite tricky, quite tight at the bottom of that league, and I don't think our week's going to get any easier. We're, of course, the away trip to Bramall Lane and the visit of Millwall on Saturday. As the lineup, let's just quickly do this because we don't need to go in depth into a lot of these. Jamie Cumming, I thought he did as good as he possibly could in the situation. Defence let him down. He made some really big saves to Jamie Cumming. There's one early where I think maybe Tom Conway it must have been Brendan Doyle, thanks to Conway came on as a sub, but basically one of their players has a really vicious effort, and it's parried over the bar or palmed over the bar, I should say, by Jamie Cumming. Really good performance by Jamie Cumming, despite obviously his bottom up score is going to take any knock due to the fact we conceded 6 goals. It's interesting, the back three, because like I say, a back three is meant to mean that we're better, we're more structured defensively, we're better when absorbing pressure, but we just weren't. I thought far too often Sam Long and Kieran Brown were getting pulled way far apart, meaning that Will Vaulks would have to drop into that back line. It did turn into, I believe, a 4 at the back, when Elliot Moore came off. But yeah, it was not a good performance from any of that backline, and Elliot Moore is now suspended for the Sheffield United trip, which is more good news, especially given the fact we know now that Ben Nelson is out for 4 months, which is just absolutely ridiculous at this point, and the severity of the injuries that we're suffering at this football club. It does sound like we're going to have Jordan Thornley back, which I know, he was poor, to say the least, last season, but he was quite good in the Championship of Blackpool season before last, and we need to score depth, especially in the defensive areas at this point. Brannigan came back in. Look, given Brannigan's been out for a couple of months, it's as good a performance as you're going to see from a player who's just trying to regain his fitness. Cam will always run around, he'll always put in a challenge, he'll always be combative, looking to win the ball. Could only do so much, Cam Bran. Will Vaulks, I thought, was relatively steady. Coming off the back of a pretty decent performance against Watford. But I think maybe that what we have to do against Sheffield United is play a double 6 with Cam in the 8, just to kind of make us a little bit better in those areas. Of the wing backs, Greg Leigh, Greg Leigh will always work his arse off, always getting to those dangerous areas, battling with Luke Ayling on the left hand side, and obviously Greg gets the first goal. That's what you can always rely on Greg Leigh to be, is around the area and causing trouble. But yeah, he's, I think, deserved man of the match. He put in a really good performance, even though the scoreline was obviously horrific. Hideo Turaves, this was, I think, his weakest performance in Oxford shirt so far. 1 or 2 decent moves in the attacking third, but he was getting caught out of position a couple times by the wide men for Middlesbrough, and yeah, it's performance to forget for Hideo Turaves. Goodman Rodriguez. So Tyler gets the assist for Dane Scarlett's goal, and I think Tyler looked quite good when we bought both McEachran and El Mazzuni on, so it basically made it so with Matt Phillips on as well, so we had kind of double wingers with Shami Poheta and Matt Phillips, and then you had Tyler Goodrum just behind Dane Scarlett, linking things up. And I've called a couple of times for Dane Scarlett to have Tyler Goodrum behind him in the 10, because we've seen what Tyler Goodrum can do in those areas, and another good example on Saturday afternoon. And then Mark Harris, I don't want to keep reiterating this, but he does run his arse off, but that chance that he misses is enormous. It's at the moment where if we score that, we're 2-1 up, it kind of shakes the players out of the days they were in from the penalty being conceded. I think it's a case of, Mark Harris, again, like I say, needs some time out the side, and I understand what they're just trying to do. He's trying to be loyal to his players that have been so good for him, but Sparky needs some time out this side. Dane Scarlett obviously comes on and scores, and like I said, he looked really useful. Has to start. Shami Poheta also looked pretty useful for the first, I'd say, 20 minutes he was on the pitch, running his arse off. Another player, a bit like Brannigan, who I thought was relatively steady given the fact he's coming back from a long injury layoff. Matty Phillips, I thought he was okay up until a chance where Bryn kind of was caught very far outside his area, and instead of playing the ball forward to I think Dane Scarlett, Matty Phillips tries to lob him, and I got a very loud Matty shout frustration from me and a couple others around me, because in that instance when I think it was still 4-2 by that point, and that would have been a big goal, kind of shake Middlesbrough possibly out the fact they're so far in ahead now. Have been pegged back to just 1 goal, and maybe that could have changed everything. McEachran and El Mazzuni, I didn't really notice El Mazzuni for a bit until he was until maybe kind of I think 85th minute. McEachran didn't have a great game. I think it's fair to say that, forgettable afternoon for the majority of these players, apart from obviously Dane Scarlett and maybe Sean Poheadza, given the work rate he's put in. If we just look at the players we've still got, that weren't used. Matt Ingram, obviously backup keeper. It'll be interesting because, like I say, Jamie Cumming wasn't at fault for really any of the goals, I think. But it would be interesting to see, because obviously we saw when Portsmouth lost by 6 goals early in the campaign that Will Norris was taken outside and replaced by Nicholas Schmid. So maybe he does do the same thing, maybe he won't, we'll see. Owen Dale and Marcelino Ferdinand. Marcelino Ferdinand, I know there's obviously a lot of... there's basically become a meme inside the Oxford United fandom, to kind of us bandwagoning on the Indonesia fans begging for Marcelino to play some minutes. But I think, look, scored 2 goals in the international break. Looks like a fairly tidy player. Maybe it's worth giving him a go. We need to use the squad at this point. We've got a lot of wide men are injured, as you can see down here. Obviously, Kyle Edwards, Siriki Dembele. Obviously, Louis Sibley's out for a long period of time. We need to use them wide men. Owen Dale, I think, also, his work rate might be important to bring him on against Sheffield United. And Will Goodwin, like I say at the minute, I think Will Goodwin is ahead of Mark Harris. I think he has to be the striker to call upon when we're making a substitution. It's like I said, I wanted to get this one out of the way quickly, because this is a game that Middlesbrough fans will remember for a long time. Will try and forget about very, very quickly. Like I say, it doesn't get any easier with Sheffield United and Millwall this week. Obviously, Tuesday night against Sheffield United, you'll get a match reaction as soon as that game finishes, because unfortunately I'm not heading to Bramall Lane. And then the same as you had today with the Millwall game. That review will come out the following day, give me a bit of time to digest everything that happened. 10 games to go till January. Doesn't get any easier for the Oxford United side. Let me know your thoughts on the 6-2 loss to Middlesbrough, and I'll see you for the review of the Sheffield United game.